And For Honor doesn't really have a lot of those. Like, there are only a couple 50-50s actually in the game. And most of the time, every character has a dodge attack, and they're usable unless out of stamina. So most of the time, this is going to be a 33, 33, 33, or even more options besides that. So what you really mean is mix-ups.
50-50s are bad for the game. What does this mean? Well, they're not necessarily boring per se. After all, For Honor is inherently a fun game, so even something that I would consider to be a bad mechanic can still be alright because For Honor is just fun. The problem is that 50-50s make the game more casual oriented.
More casual oriented. I mean, it makes the game better. Having mix-ups that are genuinely unreactable and you actually have to make a read. And a read is different than just a guess. Because a read, you might be able to like figure out your opponent. You might want to know what they're going to do based on health pools. You might be able to ascertain what risk-reward ratios you have and what your characters can do with like neutral hyper armor and stuff. But a read is different from a guess, and you need reads to be able to aggress on really anybody. You have characters that don't really have anything in their kit besides punishing things that they can punish mainly on reaction. The game needs some kind of read, and or else we'll just go back to the way old For Honor used to be, where pretty much everything was avoidable all the time. And I can tell you, it was pretty bad. Like, you would have so many option selects in the game, the option select roulette, where you had to make so many different reads to punish every single option select that indicator offense was just completely unviable. That's why they were removed, and option selects, for the most part, were awful. But even then, there were even more options, like the deflect OS, where you could just deflect into any indicator, like a light attack or something, and then just roll on reaction to them not throwing a light attack to counter both the heavy and a feint to GB, because rolls used to be absolutely busted. You need some kind of unreactable move that actually has some risk reward to it that's not just completely unavoidable.
They make you have to think less, is the point.
How does it make you think less? Wouldn't it technically make you think more? Because you have to, well, read your opponent instead of just sitting there reacting to whatever they're going to do from neutral?
Why? Because ideally, the better you get at a game, the more you know about your character and other characters, you slowly become a better player, better than those that don't know as much as you do, correct? 50-50s then serve to bridge that gap, because even a low-level player can learn how to feint an unblockable into a guard break, okay? This is something.
Even a low-level Valorant or Siege player can know how to shoot their gun and maybe even headshot somebody. I mean, heck, they can one-shot a pro player by shooting him in the head.
Point, I got my friend in For Honor, and once he reached rep like 16 or something, he learned how to feint unblockables. Key to victory. And even if you still think that 50-50s takes skill because it's quote-unquote a mind game, that's true. 50-50s are a mind game, and they do require some level of skill to pull off.
Roll credits.
However, 50-50s, for the most part, are down to luck. A heavy statement, I know. However,
Well, yes, luck has something to do with it, but it's not complete luck. It is an educated guess, which is not the same as just guessing randomly. If I see a player that dodges nearly every single one of my level 1s when I'm playing Warden, what can I expect him to do in the future? He's made a habit of dodging my level 1s, so I'm going to start doing level 2s. I'll feint into GB more. It's not just going to be a straight 50-50 of whether he dodges it, because nobody's going to play randomly like that. They have patterns.
you at low HP, fighting for your life against multiple opponents, and at the last moment, one of your enemies feints an unblockable, which you didn't respond to, into a guard break, giving you revenge. And you think to yourself, wow, I sure was lucky. That guy could have easily let that unblockable go, and I would have been dead.
Actually, that's a pretty bad example, because in that scenario, if feigning the unblockable into a guard brick feeds revenge, then also letting it fly would also feed revenge if you parried it. So, the correct thing to do would be to parry the unblockable every single time. That way, if he lets it go, you get revenge, and if he feints into guard break, well, he's not getting a punish because you can pop bench. So, in that scenario, there is no luck required.
Undeniable. And luck, in a fighting game, is bad.
Alright, so the good thing would just be to sit there and human benchmark every indicator and never ever have to make a read, right? Makes sense. I mean, no luck required.
possible. This can happen for Honor too. Team fights care a lot less about luck than duels do, because 50-50 mix-ups play a lesser role than in a duel. Then stuff like character knowledge starts to matter a lot more, which makes the skill ceiling for team fights go higher than the one in duels, because you're always trying to hit one or more enemies, dealing as much damage as possible, while also trying to remain safe, while trying to not hit your teammate. And there's a lot of stuff you have to keep track of in a team fight, not just one opponent. Your eyes have to be on 2 enemies or more and your teammate. You have to think about stuff like, is my teammate about to eat damage? Can I risk taking some damage myself so I can help him? Can I do this while also hitting an enemy? And is someone targeting me to make sure that I don't help my teammate? There are so many things you have to keep track of in teamfight that quick thinking and character knowledge certainly matters a lot more.
But that's not the reason why team fights are better than duels. I agree that duels take a lot less skill and overall a lot less balance than team fights, but that's not the reason. See, the reason is a bunch of hardware disadvantages and advantages, and reaction time advantages and disadvantages. If you're playing on old gen and can't react to light attacks, you're in a massive disadvantage versus somebody on new gen who can react to light attacks. Or if you're on PC and can't react to animation of unblockables or bashes, you're immediately put at a disadvantage in most matchups against people who can. Duels are fundamentally not viable currently as a competitive game mode because of so many advantages and disadvantages like this, which will exist pretty much no matter the case. That's why team fights are obviously a bit better at the moment.
Fighting game is. You see the point? A game where you have to try harder and where the skill ceiling is higher has more potential to be competitive, especially if it's a game about fighting. And 50-50s are bad for that reason. They oversimplify gameplay a lot, which is what casuals want. It makes you have to think less. And even if there are mind games involved, which I'm not denying, luck is also still an undeniable factor.
Well, this is not just something casual players want. This is something professional players also want. I mean, most of the time, casual players don't even want this in the first place. Like, most of the time, they don't like having these fast, unreactable attacks. But in professional play, when people can just sit there and react to a character's, like, all their offense, then you can't really make progress in a 1v1. I mean, for instance, I play Nabushi in 4v4 tournaments in scrims. And when I'm in a 1v1 with somebody, I'm not killing them. They are getting a free stall for however long I'm in a 1v1 with them. I have to call a teammate to come help me and gank with me. There's no way I'm winning that. Can I stall maybe against other characters who might have also unreactable offense? Sure. So I might be able to defend my point, but I'm not winning that 1v1. I'm not going to kill them unless I make every single correct read on their initiation if they have unreactable offense. This is just an unviable way of balancing the game.
Because a good player will make himself unpredictable. And even if you sometimes quote unquote guess right, well, guess what? That doesn't necessarily mean you did a correct read. Again, it could have been down to luck. And I'm not denying that mind games don't exist in 50-50s, because they do exist.
Roll credits.